Hey there. Welcome to episode 67 of Toy Talk with Mike and Chad.
I'm Mike.
I'm Chad. And the part of our collection we're going to be talking about today. Actually, let me ask this first.
Yeah.
Do you have the power?
No.
Okay, well, either do I, but I hope these figures have the power. Part of our collection we're talking about today is the Masters of the Universe.
I'm just going to correct you on something, or at least point it out.
Sure.
So I do these videos. Sometimes I do them by myself, and sometimes I do them with Chad. Now, when I do them by myself, I call them Mike's Collection. When I do them with Chad, I call them Toy Talk with Mike and Chad. Now, whenever I do a video by myself, I say, this is Mike's Collection, and the part of my collection that I'm going to be talking about today is blah, blah, blah.
Welcome to another episode of Mike's Collection. I'm Mike, and the part of my toy collection that I'm going to be talking about today is...
But when you're here, I always say, welcome to Toy Talk with Mike and Chad. The toys that we're going to be talking about today are blah, blah, blah.
Hey there. Welcome to Toy Talk with Mike and Chad, episode 17. I'm Mike. I'm Chad. And the toys we're going to talk about today are...
But then when you do the introduction for Toy Talk, you always do the Mike's Collection one where you say the part of our collection that we're going to be talking about today.
Hey there. Welcome to Toy Talk with Mike and Chad, episode 27. I'm Chad.
And I'm Mike.
And the part of Mike's collection we'll be talking about today is... Okay.
So I think you just do that from listening to my videos that when you're not, but...
You want to start over? You can insert this as B-roll.
Okay, let's start over.
All right. Hey there. Welcome to episode 67 of Toy Talk with Mike and Chad.
I'm Mike.
I'm Chad. And the toys we'll be talking about today. Let me ask you this. Do you have the power?
No, I don't.
I don't either, but I hope these toys do. We're talking about Masters of the Universe Origins.
Yes. I have been collecting Masters of the Universe Origins since its inception. I have done a review, and usually I do these ones by myself because you haven't really been collecting Masters of the Universe Origins.
That's correct.
So this is... The waves are starting to get a little murky, but this is kind of like wave 18, I think, that we're doing. So I have done reviews of all the 17 prior waves, as well as the vehicles and the deluxe figures and the box sets. So if you go into the channel and there's a playlist of all the Masters of the Universe videos, you can find all that stuff back there. But a little while ago, maybe a year ago, the Origins line shifted gears from straight up Origins, which was basically remakes of the vintage toys with more articulation, and they veered into what they call the Cartoon Collection, which is the same basic style of figure, but done to look like the Filmation cartoon of the 80s instead of based on the vintage toys.
Unless you're Beastman.
Yeah. Which that one was a little off model, yeah. Sure. But that's when you got interested.
Yeah, because I'm the opposite of you. Mm. You grew up with the toys before the cartoon, not so much the cartoon. I grew up with the cartoon and then got all the toys. And then my mom got rid of all the toys. Thanks, Mom. So when I saw... And then I didn't want to start collecting from, like, Masters of the Origins and missing, like, every single figure.
Yeah, it would be tough to start on Origins now because some of the figures have become pretty difficult to get. And they were never readily available at retail in our area, at least. And these figures here, these Cartoon Collection ones that we're going to be talking about today, they're not really easy to find either. You have to order them online.
Yeah.
But yeah, and just to be honest, like I grew up with the cartoon as well. But yeah, I remember when Masters of the Universe first launched and you got the toys and I saw the commercials and the comic books that came with the toys were much more kind of grim and gritty, kind of like Conan the Barbarian inspired. So I already had that vision of them in my head before I ever saw the goofy-ass cartoon. I love both of them, and they both happened pretty much within a matter of months, you know, between each other. But yeah, I loved the vintage toy line and stuff, and you guys can probably see behind me, I collected the Classics line too, which was a bigger, like 6-inch line that ran for about 10 years. And I have a pretty full collection. That's what this Snake Mountain is from. But yeah, now I collect the Origins line, which is 5 inches. They look like the vintage toys. They just have increased articulation. They have ankles and elbows and knees that the vintage ones didn't have. So in that regard, so you have some Cartoon Collection figures with you. I have some of them. And that what's interesting about that is, like, I've been a hardcore Masters of the Universe collector for so long, and here it is. You have 3 or 4 figures with you today that I didn't buy, and that's going to kind of hurt to watch because I'm like, I want them, but the characters that you have that I don't are all characters that I already have in the Origin style, and I don't really know if I need them over again in the cartoon style. That I'm really torn on, like, how many times am I going to buy these same characters again? Because I collected them in the 80s. I collected them in 2002 when, like, the modern era came out. I started collecting them again as classics in, like, 2009. I collected them as reaction figures. I collected them as Funko Pops. And then I collected the Origins line. And now with the Cartoon Collection, they're doing the same characters again. And I feel I kind of have to draw a line somewhere. So I have been buying them up to this point because they started out with all the main characters. Yeah. But some of the guys you've got that we're going to talk about today are a little bit deeper cuts, and that's where I'm starting to think, like, I think I can not buy these, but we'll see. Anyway, before we get into the Cartoon Collection, can I talk about a couple standard Origins figures?
Help yourself.
All right. So there's a couple things that I got that, again, these waves are kind of loose. This episode is going to feature the Wave 18 figures, but it's also going to feature some other stuff. Starting with this guy. You know this dude?
Don't know his name, but I remember him.
So that is Extendar.
Extendar, yes.
He is a knight. He is like a robot, and he extends. So he's a little bit of everything, because we already had Mechaneck, who had the extending neck. We already had the robot in Roboto. And his knight, his armor, we already had Man-at-Arms. So yeah, this guy's kind of a mishmash of guys we already had. And I never really got it with Extendar. Like, I didn't have the vintage one, so I had no attachment to the character. I have the one in Classics, which I'll do a split screen so you guys can see what the Classics one looks like. And he's fine. He's standing right next to Procrustes and Bo and his horse there.
Oh, yes.
And he's fine. But very rarely do the Origins figures impress me more than the Classics figures. Because these guys are shorter, they're intentionally less detailed, and I was really reluctant whether I was even going to order this guy. Extendar was one of the figures that you could only get on Mattel's website, Mattel Creations. You had to order it within a limited window, and then it was going to sell out. And I was really humming and hawing whether I needed this guy, but I pulled the trigger, and I got him. And I actually really love that figure. I think he's a lot of fun. And I actually like it better than the Classics version.
Yeah, this is a pretty sweet looking figure.
Yeah, he's got this, like, kind of pearlized silver. It's a really cool color. Like, he's silver and gold. Whereas the Classics version had kind of a whiter, almost like marble appearance, where this guy's got the more silver appearance. And it's kind of got that weird swirl in the plastic. It's just, he feels cool. He's fun. Yeah, and you can see Chad fidgeting with him there. So a lot of these Origins figures don't have the same functionality that the vintage toys did, the action feature, but this guy does. So you can actually shrink him. So his torso goes down and extends. His head also shrinks and extends. Now the arms and the legs
do not.
That is a cheat. And the reason for that is the old toys didn't have elbow or knee joints, so you had the space to push the arm up inside of itself. But now with the elbows and the knees breaking the legs and the arms in half, you don't have the room for that. So you actually have to plug in this extra little attachment that he comes with to extend his arms and his legs. But I'm fine with that because it just makes sense. Mm-hmm. But he comes with this little shield. The shield folds out I guess that's the shield's way of extending as well. It's kind of a silly little gimmick, to be honest with you. He probably should have come with a sword or something as a
Yeah.
knight. But no matter. I think this guy is really cool. I'm glad I got him. I dig it. So
I dig it.
any more thoughts on him before we move on?
No, let's get going.
All right. Now, as torn as I was on getting him from Mattel Creations, I was much more torn on this next figure because I really didn't have any attachment to this guy. And unlike Extendar, it hasn't really won me over since it arrived. I was like, all right, I have it. But anyway, a while back, I got the Heroic Horse. This is Stridor. Now, this Stridor existed in the vintage toy line. I never had Stridor, but this here is the Origins one. You can see I have him here with Fisto. He comes with this Castle Grayskull themed base, and it's pretty cool. When this figure came out, it was inevitable that we were going to get the evil repaint of this guy, because in the vintage toy line, they repainted him into an evil horse for Skeletor named Dark Stalker, and that's what I ordered from Mattel Creations last month. So it is the exact same figure as Stridor, except in the darker colors, and you'll notice his base is kind of this purple rocky base, so
Snake Mountain.
it looks like Snake Mountain instead of Castle Grayskull. And it's a whole new base. It's not just a repaint, because the Grayskull one was kind of like bricks.
Yeah.
So that's cool that they at least sculpted a new base. But otherwise, it's the same.
It was just the horse, right?
Yeah, you didn't get Skeletor.
Okay.
He did come with some accessories. Like, he's got 2 different headdresses. So this is more of a full headdress that covers his whole horse head, and it's got like a horn on the top. But the thing is, Stridor came with the exact same thing. So I've got him wearing this little, more like a cap on his head. But he came with the horned one as well. And now Darkstalker came with both. So I could display him with a little purple cap, but I'm choosing to put the different headdress on them to differentiate them a little bit more. He also came with a bunch of blast effects. He came with like 3 big kind of orange smoke effects that you could plug onto the ends of all the cannons to make it look like he was firing. And it's cool. Like, he's fine. The thing is, like, I didn't have these as a kid. I don't even remember if they ever appeared in the cartoon, but if they did, it would have been like later, and it was probably like a single episode type of thing. Most people associate He-Man with riding Battle Cat, and Skeletor with riding Panther. That I didn't really feel I needed these horses. And, you know, like Stridor, he's fine. Darkstalker, like, I don't know much more to say about him. He's fine. He looks good, but this guy cost me, like, with the shipping, I think he was like $75.
Holy sweet baby Jesus.
Because he's less than that American, but I'm Canadian, so you pay the Canadian conversion rate, and then you pay the shipping, which a lot of the toys that I buy online, I buy from Big Bad Toy Store, which is where we got the other toys that we're going to talk about in this episode. But they have a pile of loot function. So you can buy things and say, don't ship it yet, wait till they pile up. And then when I have 5 or 6 things, then you can say ship it, because shipping is cheaper. It's cheaper when you pile it all together. But the problem with Mattel doing these figures, like every month it's a new single figure, you have to pay full shipping on the one figure, which is what really sucked about the Classics line back in the day, because that's how those were sold.
Yeah.
One figure on the 15th of every month. The figures cost me $30 back then, but the shipping was $30. So each one ended up costing me $60. So that's the thing. This was a figure I didn't really need. He cost about $50, which isn't the end of the world, but then when you put on the $25 shipping or something, then it was a tough call. Part of the reason why I pulled the trigger is just because these figures tend to sell out. And if I change my mind and want them later, they're way more expensive on the secondary market. Extendar sold out very quickly. The previous figure, which I talked about in my last video, was Cyclone. He sold out very quickly. Darkstalker has not sold out even now. It's been weeks and he's still available on the website. So clearly I wasn't the only one that wasn't feeling a whole lot of excitement about Night Stalker. All right, one more before we move on to the Cartoon Collection stuff. And this guy is awesome. I was excited about this guy. So this is a new character called Reptilax. So this guy is done in the Origins style. So he looks like, even though there was no vintage toy for this guy to be based on, he looks like he could have been a vintage toy. And this guy is based on a character that was like a background character in some artwork. So there was like, I don't know if it was in one of the old mini comics or something, but He-Man was fighting the Snake Man, and he was fighting the main guys, like fighting King Hiss and fighting Ratlore, and then you just saw some other Snake Men in the background going like, ah. Anyway, so they turned one of those background characters into a character of his own. And I like that he's based on some weird existing artwork that people probably weren't paying that much attention to, because it makes him weird.
Yeah, super weird. It looks like he's got He-Man's body with just a snake head.
Yeah, he's got a green head, and then he's got this orange human torso, and then he's got orange scaly legs, because he has no scales on his arms or his torso. Then he's got these three-toed red monster feet, and then he's got this big long tail. Like, he's just weird, and it reminds me of characters like Clawful, who was a crab man, but he had human arms and legs, even though he had crab hands and crab feet and a crab head. And it's like, why does he have Caucasian arms? That's weird. And there was a couple other characters that just had those weird things like that. And this guy just feels that right amount of Masters of the Universe weird that I love. And I also like that he doesn't look like a typical Snake Man.
Yeah.
A lot of the Snake Men, they're just repainting other Snake Men, and they look like snakes with arms. This guy doesn't. He looks more like a lizard. I wouldn't think this guy's a snake at all, really. He's got all these spikes on his head. Like, he looks more like he'd be an iguana man or something.
Iguana-lax.
Iguana-lax. Yeah.
Yeah, this guy's sick.
Yeah, the accessories, I think the sword is the one that we got with Triclops. And the shield, I think it's one we've seen with King Hiss. So I think he also came with an axe, which I know we've got before with Ram Man and other characters. So the accessories are all reused. But a lot of his figure, I think, is new. Like, the tail's new. We haven't seen that before. The armor that he's wearing is new. I just think he's really cool.
Yeah, I'm a fan of this guy.
Yeah, and he gives me hope that the Origins line is still going to continue. They definitely seem to be switching their focus to the cartoon collection going forward. Like, they're putting out way more cartoon figures than non-cartoon figures. But the fact that they still let figures like this guy squeak out every once in a while, it's like, good. I hope they continue that line, because I'm really into the Origins line. But anyway, so that's it. Now we can get into the cartoon collection stuff. Why don't you take the floor for a while, because I've been talking for a bunch.
Sure. So, Cartoon Collection. This was sitting in my pile of loot for quite a long time.
Yep.
And the only reason I got it was because the shipping was going to ship anyway.
Yeah, the pile of loot, they hold things
days.
for 90 days, and then they say you have to ship this.
It was like day one. Like, I had 1 day left.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I have Evil-Lyn.
Now, I think technically, and they don't put these on the package anyway, but I think this is wave 19 or 3 or 4, depending on how you want to look at it. Because, well, like, two of the figures, spoiler alert, that we're going to talk about are Mer-Man and Stratos. We both have them. They kind of came out, I think, as their own wave, which would have been wave 3 of the cartoon collection. Anyway, and then followed by these characters that you bought that I did not.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we're starting with wave 19 here by my count. But
so what were your original comments about this when we were talking about it in person? I think you weren't a fan of this one.
Can I see? Because this is my first time seeing it in person. And it's not a bad figure. But the thing I kind of noticed about this figure, and it's maybe not, it doesn't look as much like it now that I'm seeing it in person. But in the cartoons, which these are based on, they're called the Cartoon Collection, Evil-Lyn was pale. She was Caucasian, or what, almost like phantomly white skinned or whatever. Yeah. But in the toy, for whatever reason, she was yellow. Simpsons yellow, like bright yellow skin. And I don't know why there was that discrepancy, but there was. And this figure, when they showed all the pictures, they showed her with yellow skin and I don't really have a problem with that. But it was just something that stood out to me. Like, why did they paint her like the toy when she's clearly based on the cartoon? It looks like they've toned it down from the promotional image.
That's what I thought too. That's what I thought too, because when we went through the original, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to get this. And then you were like, she's a little too yellow for me. And that was ultimately the deciding factor for you not getting it. And
Well,
plus you have...
Well, that's the thing. When it comes to Evil-Lyn, I have 2 versions of her in the Classics line, which are fantastic.
Yeah.
And then in the Origins line, I have 2 versions of her as well. One in the yellow skin and one with the pale skin. So, I don't know. I don't think the look in the cartoon was different enough. And just... So yeah, I passed on Evil-Lyn. Maybe down the road I'll pick her up. But anyway.
Moving on, we have the Winged Warrior Stratos.
Yes.
You did not get this guy. You got this guy.
I eventually decided to get this.
Yeah.
When these figures went up for pre-order, I only pre-ordered Mer-Man. I didn't get Stratos. And then you told me... So we pre-ordered them before they're available. And then Big Bad Toy Store emailed us and said, okay, now they're in stock. We're going to charge your credit card, but we'll hold on to them as long as you need us to. So the day we got those emails that Mer-Man was in stock and these other characters were in stock, I was jealous when you said that you had your Stratos in your pile of loot.
Yeah.
And I was a little worried that, like, man, what if he sells out and then I can't get him anymore? Am I going to regret not getting Stratos? Because do you have childhood attachment to many of these guys? Like, we've talked about it in the past. But like,
I remember just watching.
Did you have toys when you were a kid?
Yep.
Did you have Stratos?
I had Stratos. I didn't have the next one we'll talk about.
Well, you're moving through them so quick. You already got the next guy in your hand.
Sorry.
We're still talking about poor Stratos.
So,
you got to respect
yes, I did have a Stratos.
You had a Stratos.
Yeah.
So did I. He was one of the few figures I had. Between me and my brother, we had a modest collection. We had Castle Grayskull, we had Snake Mountain, so it felt like a big collection because we had these 2 big play sets. But honestly, I personally probably owned less than 10 He-Man figures. So Stratos was one of my guys. And he was often a heroic character. He got to be the star of the show a lot of times. I really liked him. And when they did in the Classics, the 7-inch style, when that line was winding down, they did a similar thing as they're doing with Origins. They switched from the toy look to the more cartoon look. And they did a Filmation Stratos, and I thought he looked goofy. He looked, I don't know, I'll put a picture of him up here, but I just didn't like the look of him. I didn't think it was better than the Stratos I had already, so I passed on him. So I think because they screwed up that cartoon version of Stratos once already, when I saw this one, I just was like, they already screwed it up once. I'm not going to bother with it. But the more I looked at him online, I'm like, you know what? This guy's
cool.
He does look good. He doesn't have the same problems that the bigger version had. And I ordered him. I got him. And I will say I love it. I think this is the best Stratos they've ever made. It's better than the vintage one. Because the vintage guy was kind of weird. He's hairy, like a monkey. He has hair on him because they use the same body as Beastman.
Yeah.
But then he had sock feet. His hairy body was gray, and then his feet were just no toes or anything, no boots, but they were just gray, and it looked weird. How come his just feet turned into socks? And then he's considered a Birdman or whatever, but he's got a jetpack to fly, and he's got wings that strap onto his arms. And I'm like, so is he a monkey or is he a bird or what? Is he a dude? Because he's got kind of a human face. And I was like, he was just confusing to me. Yeah. And even though they've done some nice versions of him, like the 2002 version is pretty nice, and the Classics version is pretty nice, but the Classics version still has the same shortcomings. He still has sock feet, and he's still kind of this hairy dude. This one solves all the problems because he's not hairy. He's got a nice, sleek, smooth cartoons body. He's got red boots. This is my first Stratos with boots. Red boot. Oh, well, and that goes a long way to make him seem less weird. And he's got the cool little staff of Avion there, and he's got his wings, he's got his jetpack. I don't know. The head sculpt on this guy is great. I love this figure.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad I decided to get him when I almost did.
He was the one I was most excited about in that wave.
Yeah.
Just simply for the reason that I did have the vintage toy.
Yeah, he's really, really good. Now we can move on to your next one.
Okay, I think I might have forgot to bring one.
This guy here?
Yes. So when we shift to him, you can have the form.
Well, we'll do this guy next.
Okay. So next we have the Evil Master of Escape, Webstor.
Webstor. So he is the spider-themed villain. I did not buy this one.
Yeah, this one was weird for me because I was on the fence about it too, but typical collector, I can't start collecting a line and then like half-ass on it. Like I'm all in or nothing, right? So this is what, the 6th Cartoon Collection one, and I'm like, well, I'm already in deep, might as well.
I like that he has a cat. I don't know what that's all about.
Well, it's a weird. It has a name. It's a dragon, apparently.
Grimalkin statue. So I'm sure that's like an accessory from an actual episode of the cartoon. These Origins figures, they always give you these weird little accessories that were like MacGuffins from single episodes. I don't remember it, but that's a cool one. A lot of times it's just like an orb or something stupid. But yeah, this is a cool, like I would put that in my display. It's like a statue of a cat.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I were you, I would have bought this because like Webster's cool. Not Webstor, but yeah, like, and yeah, you don't have one.
I don't have one.
So you need him.
I'm trying to remember if I had him growing up. I don't think I did.
But see, my issue, and the reason I didn't get this, and like I'm not knocking the figure because it does what it's supposed to do. It looks like Webstor from the cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
And really I think for the first time, because I don't think they did it in the 7-inch size. That line didn't go very long when they were doing the 7-inch animation because Super 7 lost the license. Yeah. And so they only got a couple of waves out. So yeah, I don't think they ever got around to Webstor. So this is the first animated Webstor. And but the problem with him is he's a spider villain. Yeah. Spider villains you expect to be scary. The vintage one actually was a little freaky looking because he had like 8 red eyes on his face. And it was a little freaky. When they revamped him in the 2002, I don't want to say he was terrifying because he's still just a cartoon guy, but like they made him much creepier. He had this hunch and he had these like all these protruding teeth, and they gave him all these extra spider arms for the first time. Like Webster, he's a spider guy, but he only has 2 arms. So like it made sense that they updated him with all these extra appendages. Yeah. He was creepy. And when they did the classics version, they kind of amalgamated the original and the 2002 to give you a nice version. He had the extra legs still. His face is still a little scary. Even the one that they gave us in the Origins line, which I have based on the vintage toy. And again, I'll put all these in a split screen. He doesn't have the extra arms and stuff anymore, but he has the eyes and he is a little scary. This guy looks like he's a crosswalk guard or something. Like he doesn't look scary. He looks...
I wouldn't say crosswalk guard. I mean, he's probably like the Howie Mandel of Little Monsters.
Yeah.
Not terrifying.
Yeah, that's a deep cut. Not many people will remember, but yeah, Little Monsters was a movie.
Yeah.
Howie Mandel played a monster. And yeah, kind of a friendly monster.
Yeah.
Kind of like a My Pet monster.
Yeah.
Like, he's got pupils in his eyes, which takes all the scariness out of him. Like, if those were just solid red eyes, that would go a long way to make him scary. But the fact that he's got these 2 little pupils. And the reason for that was, in the cartoon, all the henchmen were dummies.
Yeah. They
were always bumbling around and knocking things over. So yeah, for these cartoon collections, they kind of give them that bumbly look a little bit, which for me, I don't like my villains to be bumbling idiots. So yeah, like kind of a sidebar for San Diego Comic-Con, which just occurred.
Yeah,
they had a exclusive cartoon collection figure, and it was Too Bad.
Mm-hmm.
Too Bad is the character that's got 2 heads, and they fight with each other and all this stuff. He's a really cool character. He's a character I really like. And what's frustrating is he's one of the few classic characters that they have not done in the Origins line yet. So I don't have an Origins Too Bad. And I've been waiting for them to do it. One of the reasons they probably haven't is because it would cost extra money to tool. They can't reuse parts for him because he's got a wider torso with the 2 arms and the 2 heads and all that sort of stuff. But they went ahead and they made Too Bad. So they went ahead and did the tooling, but they did them for the Cartoon Collection, which wouldn't have been my preference. And the Cartoon Collection version looked like Webstor. They looked goofy.
Yeah.
They almost had like smiles on their faces. Yeah. Like Too Bad is supposed to be 2 monsters mashed together. He's angry.
They're angry?
They're angry.
He's angry.
Yeah. So to see him with like a smile on his face, looking all kind of cute, and the original version had like scales, like one side of him was kind of reptilian, the other side wasn't. The Cartoon Collection, all that detail is lost. So it's just this smooth, goofy looking 2 crosswalk guards mashed together. Yeah. And I was considering buying him just to have a Too Bad in my collection, but it almost would have been a placeholder until they do a proper Origins one. But he was 75 Canadian dollars. He doesn't even come with any weapons or anything. And I could have done it. He sold out very quickly, but I had him in my cart. Like I got there, I put him in there, and I'm like, let me think about this. And I opted not to. And now he's gone. So if I change my mind now, I'll probably be paying at least double that.
Yeah, and that also killed me too, because I was talking about not half-assing a collection. Well, I also don't want to pay $75 for a convention exclusive.
That's one of the things that frustrates me the most, is in the first bunch of videos I did where I reviewed Origins figures, I talked about, these things maybe aren't perfect. In the early days, most of the figures couldn't hold on to their weapons. Their grip was all too loose. There was some issues, but I said, you know what? These are like $15 figures. Compared to every other figure I collect is at least $30. I don't mind that these guys have a few shortcomings because the price, there's a good value. But they have definitely gone up in price. Now we're buying $75 figures. Now that they're only putting them out on the website, you have to order them specially and pay shipping. Like this has become just as an expensive line to collect as the other lines I collect. So I expect more from the quality of them if the cost has gone up.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. All right, so I've got one more Cartoon Collection guy to talk about, and then so do you.
Let's go with yours because I forgot mine. I do own this figure, but seemingly have forgotten to bring it.
Now, my all-time favorite Masters of the Universe character, and he always has been since the first time I ever saw him as a kid. I've told this story before, I won't bother retelling it again, but one of my earliest memories of life is about Mer-Man, is when I was searching for this Mer-Man toy. So yeah, we've got the Cartoon Collection version of Mer-Man. Now, I already have 2 versions of Mer-Man in the Origins line. I have one that's based on the vintage toy, and I have one that's based on the vintage mini comics. Both of them are great. And now I have the cartoon version. So there's 3 Mer-Men, and they're all very distinct. And I was happy to get this guy. Mm-hmm. But this guy was fighting an uphill battle with me because I'll show you the insert. But right behind me, right here, is an animated Mer-Man that was produced by Super 7 as part of their 6-7-inch animated line. And I thought that figure was awesome.
Yeah.
He looks great. And it's better than this guy. So if I never had that figure, I would probably be so excited to get this. But that guy kind of stole all of his thunder. Because I just already have this figure bigger, better, more detailed, more accessories. Yeah, this guy is he comes in a little flat. They would have really had to, add a little something to bring it home. And I think this guy looks a little cross-eyed. Like he looks a little inbred to me.
I can't unsee that now.
Yeah, like that version doesn't. And to be fair to Mattel, this is probably truer to the cartoon because Mer-Man was a goofball in the cartoon, just like all the bad guys were. But I like what Super 7 did is they took the animated look but made it cool. Even if that was just something as simple as like, let's move his pupils a little farther apart so he doesn't look like he's a cross-eyed. But this guy here looks cross-eyed, and I don't know. So I like it, And the longer I've had it in my hands and fiddled with it, the more it's won me over. But anyway, it can't live up to that one.
Now, I am a fan because I don't have one.
You don't have the other two Origins ones.
No.
Yeah. So this is your first Mer-Man, essentially.
Yeah. Aside from the vintage Mer-Man that I had.
Yeah. Do you still have that?
Could be at my mom's in the huge Lego bin, because that seems to be where all my action figures ended up mixed in with Lego. I did have the vintage one though.
All right.
And now I can't unsee his eyes. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then just the painted on teeth. Well, no, they're actually sculpted. Okay. The sculpted teeth make him look special.
Yeah. And again, he's not bad. I don't want to shit on this figure because it is Mer-Man. By the end of the year, this guy could even end up on my best of the year list just because he's Mer-Man. But it's just that, a lot of times when I get new toys, like the Snow Serpent, or like we talked about G.I. Joe's last episode, and like I still got them here beside me. So like this Snow Serpent, even though it looks like the Snow Serpent I had when I was a kid, it's like a better version of what I had. So a lot of times in this day and age, I'm getting toys that remind me of the toys I had when I was a kid, except they're new and improved, they're bigger, they're better. And so this guy is good. It's a good figure, but it's just it's not the best version of this version I have in my collection. So I don't know how else to say it. He's just fighting an uphill battle. He's a bit of an underdog just because that figure was so good. But yeah, if you don't have any of the other Mermans, if you're in the same boat as Chad, by all means, seek this guy out.
Okay.
So this is the last one. What do you got?
I was super excited for this one, and I remember when it came out, you asked me if I had seen it, and I said, but it's not the Cartoon Collection because it doesn't say Cartoon Collection on Big Bad Toy Store.
Oh, no.
Whereas all of the other ones did, and you said, I guarantee you it's Cartoon Collection just by the look of this person. And I was like, okay. They did since fix that, and it is Cartoon Collection.
You see it on the front of the box right there. Cartoon.
Anyways.
Yep.
We have Prince Adam and his trusty sidekick, Cringer.
Yeah.
And I don't have a Cringer. I did have the vintage one. He broke. Poor guy.
That's it.
You can. I'm definitely going to display him with his scared shitless face.
Well, see, the thing about Cringer is there technically was never a vintage
Battle Cat, yeah.
Because that's the thing. Like Prince Adam transforms into He-Man, Cringer, he's a scaredy cat, and then he transforms into Battle Cat, in which case he grows and he becomes more menacing and he gets armor. So back in the vintage line, there was a Battle Cat figure. Yeah. And in every version of Masters of the Universe since, whether it's Funko Pops or reaction figures or classics, they always do Battle Cat.
Yeah.
But you never really get Cringer, like the scaredy cat version. Now, I think the only version of Cringer that exists was in the Classics line.
Yeah.
He came packaged with Prince Adam in that line as well, which I don't know where he's at right now, but I'll do a split screen or whatever. But that Cringer, it wasn't bad. I like it, but it's non-articulated. Mm-hmm. So he's just he's in a walking pose, and you can only display him like that. This is the first ever articulated Cringer. So this is the first. And I am jealous that you have it, and I could very well end up caving and buying it myself.
The other, I know this is eventually going to happen. They're going to release a Battle Cat. Probably. I wish there would have been an option to have his stuff here, but I realized that wouldn't work because Battle Cat is significantly larger than Cringer. I don't have much else to say about this one other than I am super excited to have it.
Yeah, it's cool. Like Prince Adam, I've always had mixed feelings about Prince Adam. He's kind of a dork, like a pink vest, purple pants, purple boots,
and some weird thong looking thing that he's wearing there.
Yeah, well, it's like he's got the same hairy. He's got a hairy
like a banana hammock.
It's kind of like Batman and Superman. He's wearing shorts over his pants. So he's got like a leotard and then furry shorts over top of it. But that was the fashion on Eternia. So what are you going to... I'm not going to judge him too harshly on that. But the vintage figure I didn't have. It was kind of dorky. I have one from the classics. I have one in the Origins. I think this is possibly the best one they've ever done. They did do a Filmation style Prince Adam from Super 7, which I didn't get. But then I did buy, and I'll put an insert in, they kind of did like a joke version of Prince Adam. So they did a standard release that I didn't buy, and then they did the joke version where he comes in rainbow packaging and he's got a laughing face, which is based on a meme where he dances and laughs. But that's the only head he comes with. So I've only got this Prince Adam where his head's back and he's got his mouth open laughing and his eyes are closed. So that's the only head available. So it's not like, and again, I don't play with my toys, but if I did, that Prince Adam would look like a weirdo walking around like that. So I think that's what this is supposed to be. Yeah. Like this one here, he's got two heads. So they've got a standard Prince Adam head, and they've got another one where he's smiling with his eyes closed, which, oddly enough, on the artwork on the packaging, they show him leaning back, smiling with his eyes closed. And I feel they drew that picture specifically just so they could justify putting this head in it. But really, that head is a nod to the meme more than it is this artwork.
Meanwhile, Skeletor and Evil-Lyn and Triclops are just sitting there watching He-Man laying on a tree stump with butterflies flying around him.
Yep. Now, I really do like the artwork on all these things because they often have teases for characters that are upcoming and stuff. And besides Skeletor and all them kind of being like peeping Toms watching Prince Adam relax by the side of the river, there's also, what's this little guy? It's a little imp that hangs out with Hordak.
Yeah.
His name's escaping me right now.
Shit.
But I think we do know that a Cartoon Collection Hordak is coming. Yeah. But I don't know if they've told us that he's going to come with him. But the fact that they put this guy on the side of the packaging makes me think that they will package that with Hordak. So,
do you think they'll release a Castle Grayskull?
I don't know. That would be interesting if they did. All right, so let's talk about this actually. So we're done with this. So that would really be the end of the episode, except there was a reveal for a new headquarters. Did you see that at San Diego Comic-Con? So a year ago or something, Mattel had put out a fan poll to say, what do you guys want us to make next? And they gave fans like 4 options on what they wanted. And most of those selections were based off of vintage toys. So, for example, it wasn't really a headquarters. It was kind of a smaller playset, but there was a playset in the vintage line called the Fright Zone, which had a puppet of a snake. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
And then there was like the Slime Pit, which again was a smaller accessory.
I had the Slime Pit.
So I think both of those were options on the poll. But instead of getting something like that, like a remake of a vintage thing, the fans voted for a headquarters for the Snake Men. Because there's 4 big factions in Masters of the Universe. You've got the good guys, which basically hang out at Castle Grayskull. You've got Skeletor and his evil warriors that hang out at Snake Mountain. But then you've got Hordak and the Evil Horde, and they've never really had a full-fledged headquarters before. And then you've got the Snake Men, and they never had a headquarters either. They didn't even get a Fright Zone. So I think fans have wanted a base for their Snake Men for a long time, and so that's what they voted for. And I didn't vote, but that's what I would have voted for. So I was excited by the prospect of getting I forget what they're calling it. They can't call it Snake Mountain because that's already taken. Like Snake Fortress or Serpent Fort. I don't know. So they unveiled it for the first time at San Diego Comic-Con. So when fans voted, all they voted on was some like concept art. When they showed the thing, the actual toy, what were your thoughts on it?
I mean, I liked it. It seems weird. Like I would think that all the bad guys would hang out together, at
Oh.
Snake Mountain.
But they're different sets of bad
They
guys.
are different sets of bad guys, but I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool.
Well, it's not bad. It's like not cool. But what a lot of people are disappointed by, and myself included, is it doesn't look like the concept art that they asked us to vote on. They've changed it up. I'm sure in their mind they made it better. But by doing so, they made it much bigger. Because the Origins line, they already put out a Castle Grayskull, which even in Canada, it retailed for about $100.
Yeah.
So in the States, it was probably like $60.
$60.
Snake Mountain, I think the same. It might have went up a little bit. I actually never saw it. Like our Toys R Us never got it. But our local comic shop, Giant Robot Comics, they got it. They called me and they asked me if I wanted it. I kind of regret telling them no, let it go, because I've never seen it again since. But I think they said they were going to sell it to me for like $125 or something. Yeah. Which, if the comic shop was selling it for $125, that means it would have probably been regular retail $100, the same as Castle Grayskull. And the reason I didn't get Snake Mountain is because I have this gigantic Snake Mountain that I bought from Super 7, which it's sort of in the same boat as Mer-Man. It's like, even though that new Snake Mountain would be cool, it's obviously going to be lesser than this Snake Mountain. So it's kind of hard to buy something that you know is so much smaller and less impressive than this one. That's why I didn't get it. But this new Snake Mountain, I think they've said the retail price is, I can't remember if they said $200 or $300 American, which would mean we're talking like a $500 set in Canada, probably, because it's really big. And by the size of it, I'm not surprised that they're asking like that much money for it. But that's not what we wanted, I don't think. That's not what I wanted. I can't really speak for anybody else. But when they showed the prototype, or the sketches, it looked like it was going to be the same size as Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain. So we all assumed, oh, sweet, another $60 to $100 playset that I can add to my collection. But then they went ahead and made this big, gigantic thing, and you're like, man, now it's $200. Plus, it's going to take up way more space on my shelf. Plus, it doesn't look like the thing I asked for. One of the things they did to it, which is cool, but also adds to the price, and again, not what we really asked for, is there's this whole vehicle. There's this mechanical giant snake that snaps onto the front, and you can take that snake off, and a snake man can sit in the head of the snake like a cockpit, and it's like this vehicle that they can drive. So it's cool that the vehicle snaps on and attaches to the base and kind of becomes part of it. But that vehicle is pretty big just on its own. Like, that's probably like a $60 toy right there. So it's like, you didn't run that by us first. So you added a $60 vehicle and attached it to this big fortress. Anyway, I can't get it now. It's just, not only is it too expensive, but I don't even love the look of it. Like Castle Grayskull, Snake Mountain, I have childhood nostalgia too. But this Snake Mountain thing, or Snake Fortress, it's never been established in any cartoons or comic books, so it's brand new creation. And I think it could have been better. Like, it's brown and it's got vines on it. It almost looks like a Mayan temple you would find in the, something like Indiana Jones would discover in the jungle. And I just feel like, man, this is supposed to be a Snake Man planet. It's a different planet. I feel they could have made it brighter colors, made it more interesting. So I'm a little bummed that we didn't get the Snake Fortress that we were kind of expecting. So, cool reveal. I'm not going to shit on Mattel for doing what they did, but they definitely kind of pushed me out. I'm not going to back it.
Do you think they did that with a lot of their fans?
Yeah, well, like, I haven't really seen much positive. Now, mind you, it's always the negative Nellies that do all the talking online, and I don't want to join that chorus. Right. We try and do a positive toy channel here.
Unless you're a Sneeden.
Yeah, that was last episode. But, yeah, there's so many toys channels and stuff that are just constantly shitting on stuff, and, they put thumbnails that say, does this toy suck ass? And then they review it, and they're like, it doesn't, it's good. And it's like, I don't even want to put thumbnails to grab. Like, if something's bad, we don't buy it and we don't talk about it. We usually just talk about the toys we bought, and we usually like them. So we try and stay clear of the negative stuff. They made some decisions with that I don't really agree with. And from what I'm reading online, a lot of fans are pissed. A lot of them are saying it's garbage, it sucks, it's ugly, they screwed us, and blah, 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 all this stuff. I've also been hearing a lot of negative stuff about the G.I. Joe Rattler that we talked about in the last episode. And people are mad primarily because it's a crowd-funded thing, and every time they sell a certain amount of them, then they open up another tier, like you get more. And so in past HasLab crowdfunding, you get an extra figure. You hit this plateau, you get another figure, and another figure. The first stretch goal was some patches to iron onto your jacket, which I think is pretty lame. I have no use for them. I will probably throw them, if not in the garbage, I'll throw them in a drawer where I'll never see them again. So I get it. I get why people aren't excited about it. But for people to comment on YouTube channels and say, screw you, Hasbro, you're trying to rip us off, you screwed us. It's like,
chill out.
Calm down, everybody. Sure, I would have rathered a figure, but whatever. You can tell that the G.I. Joe team is very passionate about what they do, and they put a lot of time and effort and a lot of care into the figures and into the vehicles. And obviously, all of Joe fans aren't going to agree on what it should be. I saw a lot of people complaining that Road Pig was too fat and didn't look good, but I thought Road Pig looked great.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a Masters of the Universe episode, so let's not get too off topic here. Is there anything else you have to say about any of these?
I don't think so. I am kind of jealous about Reptilax, though.
Well, he's still available on Big Bad Toy Store, so you can pick up a Reptilax of your own.
But then I have part of the collection that doesn't fit in my...
Live a little.
Oh, I've lived quite a bit the last 3 weeks.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's wrap this up, and who knows, maybe we'll even do a third episode tonight, because we still have a bunch of toys to talk about. So, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Please leave us comments below. Not only do we appreciate it, but it helps the channel, helps the video gets recommended to more people. So yeah, please do that. And I will see you next time. Ciao.
Keep collecting.